Exasperated sigh. Hello, newsies. It's me. It's Alex, and that's her. That's Kate.
I feel like I heard that one before.
I know. Listen, we're not even gonna do a thing. Like, whatever. Let's just get the flick out of here. We should listen to ourselves more, Kate. We vowed not to do this ever again after senior year, and then I think that was so long ago that we forgot. That was over a year ago. We forgot. We forgot to not do this.
Here's the thing. We had to do it because John Cena, pretty good. Yeah. Jackie Chan, to me, great. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they messed this one up so bad. I feel like
it's so many ways.
Really likable fellas on the screen side, at least. And so I this was what I almost wanted to see, but I always love. I don't always go into like research mode on anything, but I usually will look at what are we getting into from like a how many stars does this have thing. And it's really fun when it's like 1 or 5. And I feel like this was a lot of 1. Like the average is usually somewhere around 3. But people are like, this was so dumb. I had so much fun laughing at it instead of with it. Or people are like, for me, how this one felt like this was a meandering waste of two of the best you could get on board for something. Like I feel like even as a combo, and there were parts in it where you could see it, right? As a combo, I was like, Jackie Chan and John Cena, like that's a fun pair of people to have on board for something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this feels like they took that and threw it all away, Alex.
Yes. It does. And when we say they, we mean Netflix.
We do. Netflix this is on Netflix.
Netflix is famous for throwing good money after bad and also not paying residuals to its people that work on their stuff. So it is awesome for John Cena to get a chance to work with a legend in Jackie Chan. That's great. It's bad that he's going to get paid nothing for this for the rest of his career, unlike regular films.
I will say I think he'll be all right.
He'll be fine.
I think he's got some stuff in the savings account. It's more other people that they need to pay.
Yes, it is. Well, that's true. But as is the case with a lot of Netflix originals right now, it is done as a partnership.
Yes.
With the Chinese government, who run all of the studios in China, and of which there are many. Hold on. I'm going to pause this right here because I'm doing it here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 different Chinese studios produce this. 12. There's a full 2 minutes almost of fancy logos of Chinese studios that produce this before we get to in association with 12 studios that produce this.
This is like this. I can't believe how much this just feels like nobody tried when so many people tried, but maybe that's part of the problem.
Right. Well, a lot of times when they do these, they'll be direct to Netflix in the States and play theatrically in China.
Sure. Okay.
So like that's what they're trying. They do, like too much of this movie for my taste, because when I'm watching our schlock, I usually just have my head in my phone for most of it, doing other things. But when the movie is in Mandarin or whatever, and subtitled, I can't do that because I miss crucial plot details. Spoiler alert, I missed them anyway, even though I read the stuff.
Well, they missed them. So
they missed them. This was, I don't, so many units of Chinese money were spent on this, and nobody hired a screenwriter for the American dialogue. They obviously, because if you watch the bloopers that play over the end credits, everything John Cena says is improvised. Yes. All of his scenes are improvised. It's just John Cena.
To him.
Good. Hey, you know what? Honestly, a lot of the funniest stuff is him and Jackie Chan interplay, but a lot of the dialogue that John Cena says is funny. However, it's just John Cena. He's just playing. If John Cena decided not to be a wrestler and instead be a special forces soldier, and then he was now an ex-special forces soldier, doing private security, but he still had the same acerbic wit, this is who he's playing. Chris Van Horn is John Cena. That in an alternate universe, this is John Cena. And so that's fine. It's not acting, but it's fun to watch him do some interplay. That's nice. But because all of his stuff is improvised, and because this was all done with a Chinese production team, all of the other Americans sound like they're reading an AI script. And I feel like they probably were. You know, like it does feel like it was like loosely translated from Mandarin to English, and then the English actors tried to figure out how to say this right without doing much effort into it. Like there aren't many, but there's, I don't know, 5, 6 maybe English speaking parts in this.
It's not a lot.
And so they all just feel like they're just like reading off a thing written by a computer. But John Cena, because he's allowed to improvise everything, at least has a cadence that kind of is different than everybody else. But it's
when you DM'd me and you apologized because this was your idea, and I said, you know, it's karma for throwing trading bombs out there. I understood what was happening.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I deserve it. But I said this felt like the strike had already started. Like this, though it was so weird and bad. And
then the strike was not hidden. That strike was not hidden. It was public viewing for all to see.
Yeah, it was
not hidden strike. Not a hidden strike. A fully public strike.
Very, very on display strike.
Yeah.
Not in the corners of anything. And it's such a bummer because like my biggest takeaway from this movie was like I want to see Jackie Chan and John Cena in a movie where people try. Like I want to see these two get something with like a real production company behind it. But there's no way Jackie Chan and John Cena weren't paid a ton of money to do this, especially with the lack of residuals. So I don't understand how you fumble it this bad, because it feels like something that I thought of when I was 12. Like this is so not good. It's not good.
So like watching this movie so many times I was like, did a producer's 11-year-old come up with this?
Yeah. And I was like sincerely trying to figure out in the beginning, like, is it a joke on itself or is it just bad? It's just bad. Like it's not
yeah.
It's a bad attempt at something that was sincerely trying to be done with some cheekiness in it.
Yeah.
But it's I'll say this, it's no Velocipaster.
No, God no.
What is really?
But what is really when you think about it?
Also, can we talk about the fact that Jackie Chan is 69?
69, nice. And shouldn't be doing this. Like he was old when like Rush Hour. He was old in Rush Hour. He was old. Yeah. He was old in Rush Hour. That was like 15, 20 years ago. I remember my first Jackie Chan experience was Rumble in the Bronx. Did you ever see Rumble in the Bronx?
I didn't.
Spoiler alert, it was actually Rumble in Vancouver because that's where they filmed it, which does not look like the Bronx. On the
Those are very different places.
yes.
I need to watch
Yes.
more Jackie Chan movies. I need to go
No,
on like
Rumble in the Bronx is fun. I don't remember the plot of it. What is the plot? It's Jackie Chan running from people, and then when he's cornered, fighting them for 15 seconds, and then running away some more, like doing parkour and stuff. Yeah, it's fun. But on the jacket of Rumble in the Bronx, they show him kind of like cornered against something, ready to fight, but like a little scared of it. But then like superimposed in the background of it is the skyline of the Bronx, full of giant fir trees. Like it is obviously the Pacific Northwest.
Can we just really watch along of that right now instead of reviewing this movie?
Yeah,
I know what I'm doing this weekend.
Yeah.
I need to see that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So like Jackie Chan as the non-American side of the buddy comedy actioner is a thing that's fairly tried and true after the success of all the Rush Hour films. So they try to do it again, but now he's 7 decades old, and he can still move, but he must not feel good after some of the stuff that he does.
I was actually
I'm not sure exactly how much of this stuff was now stunt guys. It used to be none. He used to do literally all of his stunts. So I don't know how much of that he's still doing, but you can see his face in a lot of the crazy stuff that he's doing. Like it's obviously Jackie Chan. So
it's pretty nuts. Like I actually thought the fight scenes were pretty good considering what the F this movie was.
Yes. In comparison.
Yeah, and then like I watched it before you told me how old he was, and I knew he was older, but I was like, oh my god, like for God bless him for moving like that at 70, because even if he did half the stuff, like there's some it doesn't feel like they were gingerly about anything in the fight scenes, I think is fair to say. But yeah, I was surprised by his age, but you're right in that like this whole movie just felt very long and disjointed.
It was an hour and 40 minutes, and it felt like 3.
Nothing, yeah, and
there was the action sequences are well shot and put together. Some of them very artfully so. They did one friggin' thing where they had a camera spin around a fight vertically inside an enclosed bus. And I was like, that's not possible. I don't know what you're doing, but that's not possible. The bus is entirely green screen. Like, but it looked really cool. I mean, I'll give it to them. There's amazing driving stunts. I'm sure they're all CGI anyway, but like it's really cool. The explosions are big, great. I don't give a solitary rat's patoot if any of these people live or die, because they haven't done anything to like. Why do I care about oil refinery workers from China in Iraq? By the way, I had to find out it was Iraq by like Googling it. It was just a desert. It was just a desert. Apparently, it was a desert. But it's Iraq. What the trailer says in the near future, and I was like, oh, because the movie never says that. The movie could be now. It could be 10 years ago. It could be. I don't know when it. The movie never says that, but the trailer's like in the near future. How near are we talking about? But
a different production company handled the trailer than handled anything else in this movie based on how many logos were.
Yeah.
But this movie is. I was thinking about this while I was watching it because remember with Tremors, how you were like, "This is just monster movies," because I was like, I feel like nothing like happens in it, and you were like, well, yeah, because monster movies like things don't really happen. It was kind of like for whatever reason, I think because I'm a big sissy, like I haven't seen a ton of monster movies, but like I'm more into movies with fight scenes that just happen. Like I don't need a lot to happen around those, but like this was tedious, and it didn't have any of the absurdity of Big Trouble in Little China, where you could even be like, like, this is so ridiculous that there's people like
there's definitely
floating in these
no
houses.
absurdity. Yeah.
Well, so it just it felt it meandering is the word I keep going back to with it. It was a road to nowhere, really.
Right. Beep Boop is questioning our knowledge of the Highway of Death. The Highway of Death is in this movie. It plays a big part of it. But I thought that was just a bad translation from a Chinese phrase. I didn't think they meant the actual Highway of Death, because that's not something you just lightly put into a movie that's not about the Highway of Death. Where during the first Gulf War, Iraqis, including civilians, were trying to get out of Kuwait so they didn't get bombed. And we were like, haha, I'm going to bomb you anyway, and killed thousands of people. And we're like, oh, we probably should have figured out they weren't all military before we did that. So that's the Highway of Death. I didn't, the thing of it is, I never thought they were talking about the actual Highway of Death. Because why would you put that in the movie? And also, why is an entirely Chinese oil refinery in Iraq? I mean, it didn't make any sense. I was like, oh, the near future. China has expanded. They talk about the war. And I thought, like, if it's in the near future, maybe there was a huge war in Asia where China expanded its borders. But because it's a Chinese film, not necessarily a bad thing, just China controls all of Asia now. Good for us. We're Chinese. That's awesome. You know, listen, there's lots of movies America makes that are very patriotic in weird ways. I'm not going to judge. But this was just an odd thing to me that they were like, the Highway of Death. And then they say, the Highway of Death, that's the most dangerous road in the country. Which is like the minute I was like, that's AI. That's AI. I'm sorry. That's a computer wrote that. A Highway of Death, that's the most dangerous road in the country. As opposed to what? The Highway of Posies? Like what? Like Highway of Death would be the most dangerous road in the country. How else would it have got the name? Highway of Death.
What is more dangerous than the Highway of Death? It sounds like when you said it for some reason, I was like, that sounds like a wrestling pay-per-view. The most dangerous road in the country, the Highway of Death.
Yeah.
I do know about the Highway of Death. I didn't put at no point did I grasp that this was in Iraq, but I probably because they didn't mention it, and also I wasn't that invested in this film.
No. So there are two groups that intersect. The first is that there is a special force, a Chinese special forces team that is being sent in to across nation lines. Several. You have to cross a lot of different countries between China and Iraq to get there. To evacuate a Chinese oil refinery that has been under terrorist attacks. So they basically, the Chinese government says, we own an oil refinery in Iraq. There have been a few terrorist attacks. Rather than beef up security, we're going to evacuate it and just leave the oil for the terrorists, I guess. We'll get more elsewhere. I'm not sure what that is, but that's the plot. That's why Jackie Chan is leading a team in there to do that, to rescue, including Professor Cheng, because on an oil rig, you need a professor to do stuff. Otherwise, this is why it's so AI to me. Like, Professor Cheng? Are you a professor of oil riggery? What did you get your doctorate in? Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So,
his PhD in oil riggery.
I mean, I don't know. But anyway,
this is now, for some reason on this recap, it's feeling more and more like wrestling. Like,
yeah,
it feels. Professor Chang is definitely someone that got buried by Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Professor Chang is a woman, middle-aged, who's, she's got to get out of there, and she gives the dongle. It's a little USB, a little tiny USB, which apparently on it holds the key to making the oil refinery work. They like shut it down, and all the passcodes, they need passcodes, but you also need the dongle to be pushing a little USB port to start it up again. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of oil in underneath the ground. So she gives it and her phone to her assistant. Okay. And her assistant puts them in her little leather satchel. And there are 11 buses that are going to drive them from the oil refinery into the green zone. Now, the green zone is the area of Iraq where it was like neutral. During the second Gulf War, like that was where you could go and you'd be safe, and there would be any terrorist attacks. And so if there's no need for a green zone if the war is not currently on, and it doesn't feel like the war is currently on, but anyway, we have to drive 8 hours.
Things work in the near future.
We got to drive 8 hours on the highway of death to get to the green zone from the oil refinery. We can't, Lord knows, we can't just send a bunch of big ass choppers in here and put people on, like people moving air support. Can't do that. Got to put them in buses because there's 492 of them, including the children, they say. So all the oil refinery workers live on the place, and they have their kids who live there and I guess go to school there or whatever. That is a thing that they say. Jackie Chan has personally volunteered. He is a legend in the Chinese special forces business. Jackie Chan, his name is Dragon Luo. That dragon is a nickname, and apparently means he's ferocious in battle. I don't know, but the reason that he has gone there is because Professor Chang's assistant, May, is his estranged daughter, and so he is going to make sure that she gets out safe. Now, she's estranged from him because he was doing special forces things all over the world for his country, while his wife, May's mother, was dying of, let's say, cancer in the hospital. So she sees that he's there. He tries to talk to her. She's not having any of it. Finally, they have a little conversation about it. And he's like, I had to do it for my country. For your country? What about for your family? Of course, this is all in Mandarin. You got to read it.
Yes.
It is Jackie Chan is doing a very good job with the emotional work here. And honestly, I feel like, it's translated from Mandarin that I'm reading, but the dialogue between the Chinese nationals that I'm reading feels a lot more natural than the American dialogue between not Chinese nationals that I'm hearing. So that's why I'm like, I feel like this was written by Chinese, then translated through Google Translate, and then kind of cobbled together to make a script for the Americans. But, John Cena, you can say whatever you want. That's what it kind of feels like to me.
Did you do any research about this or no? Just out of curiosity.
It's hard because Netflix doesn't tell you stuff about their movies. And I know Jackie Chan was talking about this movie he was going to make in 2018.
That's the thing. It was 5 years ago or something.
That was when he signed on to it. I don't know when John Cena signed on to it, when it was filmed or produced or whenever that happened. There's a lot of post-production. I can tell you that. A lot of post-production.
I was going to say, because there's a lot of times where it feels like they're not even in the same room.
Oh,
yeah. And so the one thing that someone had sent me when I told them I was doing this, because they're a big Jackie Chan fan, was that they had read somewhere that this was originally supposed to be Sylvester Stallone, and he jumped ship. And all I could think about was Jackie Chan and Sylvester Stallone.
No, wouldn't have worked at all.
Would not have worked at all.
No, Sly, famous for not being a great improviser. So I don't know that those dialogue that would have been as fun.
But I was just thinking about this, like, because I thought Jackie Chan, to your point, like in these scenes especially, like sometimes with subtitles it's hard because you're reading and then ignoring the acting performance, but like the subtitles for this stuff I felt like were secondary because he was conveying the emotion with as a good actor, and that just made me think about how horrific this would have been if Sylvester Stallone was in this movie at any point.
No. Anyway, yeah, no, that would not have been good. So that's all I need to get into before the two groups coincide. Okay.
Yes.
So intercut with all of this is the John Cena plotline. So we first meet John Cena when he's hitting golf balls out of the back of a pickup truck and critiquing his own shot in an irreverent way.
God bless him.
And up drives a bunch of, like, special forces types, and they all get out of their car. And one of them is the leader, obviously, of that little group, and comes up to him, and he's younger, and he's talking to John Cena about a job, like that. Is he paying him off for a job that they have recently done? And then he's like, "Say, here's another job we want to do. We want you in on this job." And he's like, "Nah, I don't want to do it."
Yeah, that's kind of how I took that, was like they were settling up from a previous thing, and they were like, "Hey, we got this new thing for you."
Which is odd because John Cena has never seen any of these other people that are with this guy that he knows. But immediately, I'm not going on this job with you. But it's very important that I come up with nicknames for all of you, even though, according to me and the decision I've made, I will never see any of you ever again.
You know what, though? I feel like I've met that guy before, so kudos to John. The guy who like immediately meets a guy named Michael, and he's like, "Mike A." Like, I feel like
Mike A for Michael. I feel like you can do when you first meet the guy, and you might never see him again. Deciding that the one female in the group is named Tomb Raider right away, even though you're never going to see her again. And that the skinny guy who's got a toothpick in his mouth is named Toothpick.
Yeah.
He says, for two reasons. You'll get it eventually. That was funny. That's, again, a John Cena-ism. Bald Eagle, who's the guy who's bald, but also, like, the guy, because you look like the one from the Muppets. Because he does have a kind of a little hook nose. It was looks like the guy from Muppets. That's fine. Bald Eagle. And then there's another dude who's in his right half is entirely tattooed with like skulls and stuff. And he says, full disclosure, there's a lot going on here. I'm gonna have to come up. I'm gonna get back to you. You're not gonna get back to him. You're never gonna see him again. According to you, you've just told this dude, Henry, I think, that I'm not doing this job. So goodbye. Just like whatever. And he's like, "Hey man, it'd be great. You're working for Unicorp. I guess that's a good thing according to Henry. You're working for Unicorp. Come on. It's great. Also, we would get the guys, the terrorists who were responsible for that hit that we took 2 years ago. Like we know it's them. The Chinese are going in and they're going to be moving him to a Chinese prison. Nobody else has to die. We go in surgical. We kidnap that dude. We take him out. That's the job. Unicorp's paying for it, whatever. Because he's been leading terrorist attacks on Unicorp. So we get to take him out. It's revenge for us. It's business for them. They're footing the bill. The Chinese are never even going to know we were there. We're going to do it all great because we're Special Forces U.S. guys. Hoorah. And so he's like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm not going to do that. It doesn't make any sense. Thanks. I'm gonna stay here in my entirely walled in tiny village in the now we know to be Iraqi desert, where it is me and some older gentlemen, a few of them, some women, and a bunch of children, a lot of orphans. I am their caretaker, apparently, and it will be this thing. So he's there. He is so the special forces guys, they leave, and he's there. This is all intercut with all the stuff happening with the Chinese. So he's there and he's playing baseball with one kid, like trying to teach him how to throw a ball back and forth, because what's more American than that? Having a catch. And then a guy comes over. This guy's very unassuming. He's in a Unicorp pickup truck, and he comes out and he's going to fix the pump that brings water into the village, because they haven't had water. And he's like, we gotta walk down to a river.
I have so many children around.
Yeah, we gotta walk down to a river and filter it using coal, because that's how they used to do stuff. I don't really see how that's better than drinking it with non-coal in my water, but all right. I don't know how it works. I'm going to filter it using coal or charcoal, whatever it is. And so that's how we're going to filter the water. It's a long process, and it doesn't leave us much extra, but it's working for now. Can you fix this pump? And he's like, yeah, I'll try. Like, maybe the last guy they sent out couldn't do it, and he had more equipment than you do. And this guy, whose name is Owen, like, has a big wrench that he tries turning, and nothing happens. And he goes, yep, no water. And I was like, well, I guess we won't try to redig the well or bring out a actual team of people who know what they're doing. It's just you, Owen. And he's like, yeah, man, listen, I can go to Unicorp and I can try and bring something out here that'll actually do something, but it's going to cost. Like, they don't want these people out here. They want to be able to, like, move them off the land or whatever. So they're not going to do this. So if you want to do that, it's going to be like 100,000, which of course Chris John Cena does not have. So there is a scene that is just so, like, it was like literally a computer spat out 4 words of dialogue, and the director made it into this very important 1.5 minute scene where John Cena is standing in his kitchen in the garage he lives in, and this woman comes in and says, Chris, do you know when we will have the water? No, I don't. Okay. And she leaves. John Cena looks very angry and looks over at the wall and punches a mirror or something. And it's like, so you had to have a whole thing of like, all right, well, I needed this scene where the woman comes to me and asks about the water before I will decide to go against my principles and go and do this job with the special forces guys, so I can get $100,000 so that I can then pay Unicorp to fix the well. But you need that scene, apparently. You don't need the scene. You don't need the scene. You could have him decide it during the scene with Owen, but no.
It's God bless John Cena for his efforts with this movie. The guy that we saw giving everyone nicknames, also not this guy. Like, these are 2 different people. Now, no, they don't need the scene. And if they really wanted to have the scene, it also did not need to be this heavy-handed.
Yeah,
and this
it
felt like it was 20 minutes long, considering it was like 3 lines of dialogue. I do feel like, because we're now in the John Cena bits of this too, one of the better wrestler actors. This film,
he's gotten better. He's gotten much better.
He had something around like Peacemaker era, I guess, with John Cena kind of.
That was honestly kind of funny, because the character's name in Peacemaker is Chris, and so much of his stuff just sounds like Peacemaker to me. All of his dialogue kind of sounds Peacemakery, because he's just riffing himself.
Yeah.
So I was like, If you told me this was a prequel to Peacemaker, I'd believe it.
There you go.
Like
Yeah,
like all this stuff, and like now he lost his mind, and now he's wears the toilet seat on his head. It's it's different. It's possible, right?
I do also appreciate that this is just like they cast a wrestler to be special ops guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has tried to expand a little bit, which I like. The Rock plays the same guy in every movie, and he does it to the tune of being the highest paid guy in Hollywood.
Oh, sure.
God bless.
Yeah.
John Cena at least has done like some comedic stuff and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this obviously being more like the pro wrestler turned actor wheelhouse, but he honestly tried with this. Like the improvised stuff, you could tell like he tried. This ridiculous scene, he put forth an actual effort into a lot of this. So I do just want to say that like a lot of the Hulk Hogan stuff that we reviewed, part of the issue is certainly Hulk Hogan's inability to act at all. John Cena has some chops. He's not Batista. I think Batista's the best one of the wrestlers turned actors. But I appreciate that about John Cena, old John boy.
Yeah. So now here we go. John Cena has made a decision to join the team, the extraction team, to attack this
because of
convoy of buses, because he needs $100,000 to pay Unicorp to turn the well back on or something. I don't know. So he just decides, and they're already there. She's just there. He decides, and the next scene, he's in a dune buggy, leading the team to attack this thing. They are driving into the highway of death, and they have to beware of bandits and rebels, and rebels scum, and they have to beware of all these bad guys, which are honestly just children by the side of the road. One kid's holding out an empty bucket because he wants some water if you have some. And they're like, you can't stop. And they're running through. Like, apparently the highway of death had another problem with the highway of death between 1991 and also after 2003. And now, because it's littered with just junk cars that have been exploded. Now, it was famously in 1991, that's what it looked like, but since then they've cleared the road because that was a long time ago.
And as we know, this is in the near future.
This is in the near future, not the distant past. So he runs, they're running through these cars that have been set up in the way. They just keep on going because they're buses that they're driving. And then they go, the sandstorm, that is no ordinary sandstorm. Didn't you tell me there were no chances of sandstorm? Yes, I am looking at the weather app now. The weather app says 0% chance of sandstorms. 0% chance of sandstorms is a thing that the app says, so it must be right. But yet there is a giant sandstorm. You'll never guess how the sandstorm is manufactured because it's not a real sandstorm. We'll tell you in a second. So this is where the extraction happens, where they have to get in and get, they know, okay, there's one guy who marks, who's an inside team, who marks the bus with an X that can only be seen through like night vision goggles or something, which they're all wearing because it's so dark in the sandstorm. So it's we know we're going to take that bus. Also, we're going to take the bus at the end because that's going to be a distraction bus. So they take the bus number 8, which has Professor Chang on it, because they figure that's all they need is Professor Chang, really, and some hostages. But May, who has the dongle and the professor's phone in her bag, is on bus 1, because Jackie Chan says, you're staying with me because I'm going to protect you. So there's this very elaborate heist. It feels very Fast and the Furious-y.
Very, very, very much so.
So the guy whose name is Knox, but this is the guy he keeps yelling, talking to, he gives different names because they're all facey things. He says, first one he gives him is a graffiti head. because it looks like a teenager evangelized your face. And then there's a bunch of other ones he gives. Some of them are actually clever. Most of them not. But that guy gets on the bus and has a full-on fight scene with one of the lady special forces. He's able to kick her out the front windshield, which has been demolished. And so she lands, looks up, sees the bus barreling toward her, and lays down, and the bus rolls over her. And that's one of those weird, like, the camera like rotates with it, and like it's on top of her, and then rotates under the bus and looks up at the bus as it goes by, and then rotates, looks at the bus, and then looks back at her. Really cool stuff with the camera work in this movie. It's probably the best thing about it is the cinematography.
Big time.
Is really interesting in the fight stuff. But so she's left behind, right? That's on bus 11, the last bus. And they're able to extract the other bus without really any problems at all. And they drive that off, and they unload the bus number 8. Oh, by the way, the sandstorm, they have no communications. Sandstorm is jamming their communications. But it's not really the sandstorm. They think it's a sandstorm. It's actually a jamming device that the bad guys have. Whatever. So they can't communicate, whatever. And Jackie Chan just drives out of the sandstorm, and that's when they realize they're missing 2 buses, and they need the air support to come back. So the air support circles back around to try and help them. They unload all the hostages out of bus number 8. John Cena immediately knows this is up. Well, these are all Chinese oil refinery workers. Where's the terrorists we're supposed to like take out of this? What's happening? Like, don't worry about it, says Henry. Like, oh, by the way, should I mention also it was a very odd scene when John Cena turns down Henry. He says, your dad would be really disappointed with you. Like, that was low even for you. And I was like, that is I don't know what the relationship is with this thing. And the relationship turns out to be Henry is Chris's younger brother, is John Cena's younger brother. And it is a very, I would never say to my brother, your dad would be really disappointed in you. I would say dad.
Have the same dad.
We have the same father. It's a weird little line of dialogue that kind of yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
It feels like they decided after the movie that was their relationship, or like halfway into doing this. The only thing in my notes that is missing from what you covered is I just put, like, even if there's a 0% chance of a sandstorm, you should probably have some preparation around the fact that there could be one based on where you live and operate. Like, you shouldn't be
0.
It's not like we're in the middle of the ocean and there's a sandstorm. You know what I mean? Like, you should have some precautions in place in case one were to kick up. But other than that,
yeah,
beautiful. Yeah. Oh no, John Cena, very quickly to your point, catching on what's going on here. Like,
yeah,
he
immediately he's like,
hold on, to be on the mission. They're on the convoy without. I have a question.
Where are all the terrorists we're supposed to be taking off of this bus? Because there are none.
Very funny.
And they say, "Don't worry about it. We're going to the meeting point or whatever." And they drive over to the meeting point, and the guy who's in charge of this whole operation is the plumber from that scene earlier with John Cena. Because at that point in that scene, there is nothing to tell us that he is not simply a maintenance guy who works for Unicorp. They don't. He's a guy who shows up in a pickup truck with a wrench. That's it. There's no like John Cena knows the guy because he works with Unicorp as well, and probably this is a guy who comes out and looks at things they have problem with the village all the time. But there's nothing there where it's like, this is a person of authority. Apparently, he's like in charge of operations for Unicorp. So he's the COO, of Unicorp, but also he himself is an ex-Special Forces soldier.
Yeah, this was weird.
And a lot of my friends who were also in Special Forces died here, and so this place, and they never got any money from our government. Their families never did, so we're going to pay back their families by doing this giant oil heist and selling all the oil. and then we're gonna do that. So it's honorable. Did you ever see The Rock? Not the person, but the movie.
I did a very long time ago, but yes.
The Rock has honestly one of my favorite villains in all of in all of cinema. Ed Harris as Captain Francis Xavier Hummel. He's so good in it, and there's so much gray area because he's never planning to go through with vaporizing San Francisco. It's a terrorist plot to terrorize the government into paying for the funerals of all the dudes that he lost overseas, bringing back their bodies, doing all this stuff because he believes that's an honorable thing to do, to never leave a man behind and to take care of the families of the people who gave their lives for this country. And he is then tricked into his authority is subsumed by a bunch of mercenaries who work for him to take over, and they kill him. And spoiler alert. But I honestly loved the idea of the guy trying to do right by fallen soldiers and by the families of fallen soldiers because the government wouldn't do anything to help him, so he's extorting money from the government. Honestly, there's the gray area there. You're not going about it the right way, but your intentions are good. This is directly lifted from that plot line, and they've given this guy no gravitas, no connection to anything. As far as we know, he's a glorified plumber for Unicorp, is a made-up thing that runs Iraq, and he's decided he's going to steal billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of oil to pay back people that we never see before.
Yeah, there is something really that could have been interesting there. Yeah, he's Dusty Rhodes right here. He's just plumbing, or I guess his dad.
He's just a working man, working hard with his hands.
What works with that trope too for me is I'm not particularly somebody that is empathetic of the government or finds it bad that you would take money from the government. So this I'm a villain but Robin Hooding stuff,
yes,
is a really, really cool thing when it's done well. The Rock is a really good shout about that because very fleshed out character, and Ed Harris I just think is a brilliant actor. But I always and this spills over into wrestling world, but also here and stuff, is bad guys that you can understand the motivations of are great, and then bad guys where you're man, if I was in their shoes, I might actually do the same thing. Not even just I get their viewpoint, but when you're yeah, if I was in your position, I might have the same viewpoint, is always something that's interesting. And I feel like they swung and missed on that piece of it, of just there wasn't a moral struggle on that side. It just kind of sat there. But it is an interesting and kind of underutilized. We don't see a ton of that idea.
Yeah. So John Cena is I'm not part of this. I was getting paid. I don't want to do this. I'm done. I'm washing my hands of the whole thing. And Owen's come on, be a part of the actual taking of the oil, because that's going to increase your thing, the money you're going to make to a much bigger amount. Think of what you could do for the village. This is also the team that led that ambush on you 2 years ago, blah, blah, blah. They're not. It's not them. You're not doing that. That's not what we're doing anymore. Yeah, but they're responsible. They're profiting off of that, the destabilization of the blah, blah, blah. It's a bunch of gobbledygook. So he says no. Henry's I can talk to him. I'm done. Hey, you meet me back at the village at 1600 hours and bring me the rest of my money. You get it done. I'm out. I'm leaving. So he leaves. And Henry's oh, it's all right. He's my brother. It's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll talk to him. It's all right. And then Owen just shoots him. And then something weird happens that I didn't understand exactly. Remember Tomb Raider, the one lady on the team? She reacts to Henry being shot by raising her gun Like what? And then Owen shoots her. And then a couple other people on the team raise their guns and they get shot. Oh no, the hostages run away. They get shot. Tomb Raider's the only one who gets killed. And then it's revealed that Bald Eagle and Skullface Knox are part of Owen's team that he put on Henry's team, to like infiltrate it or something. But that was never. It feels like Henry's known these guys forever.
Yes.
Come on, hey, it's these are guys, and John Cena's like, I don't know, but it was like Tomb Raider was apparently not here for Henry being shot because she wasn't actually part of the real team. I was like, oh, that's too bad for Tomb Raider. They the one American the one English speaking female in the cast killed with no lines of dialogue. So
yeah. And stuff like this is what made it hard to get really invested in any of the characters.
Yeah.
Like this is all of everybody is so kind of thinly fleshed out in this, and like things like this where you're just like, wait, what? This was like a little bit jarring, and I didn't have it doesn't build up a ton of love or empathy for anybody.
They've pulled off a bunch of the hostages off of bus 8 that they've left out in the middle of an oil field, and including the professor. And they are going to take them back to the refinery to get the refinery started up so they can actually take all the stuff out of it. Now, he says to Bald Eagle, dump his body at the radio tower and make it look like Chinese retribution. And so I don't know what the radio tower has significance of. That's not a location we've ever seen before in the movie. But when Henry doesn't show up with the money, John Cena knows to go there.
Yes.
But he also says to Bald Eagle, make sure that that French thing that Henry's been a part of is cleared up.
All right.
So
John Cena extremely intuitive in this.
Yeah.
In this film.
John Cena and Jackie Chan have a little standoff because Jackie Chan finds the bus, and it's still full of hostages who are not restrained in any way. They are on their hours after their captors have left. They are still on their knees with their hands laced behind their heads, but they're not zip tied together or handcuffed. They're not blindfolded. And when Jackie Chan is walking through the bus, they don't look at him like, oh my God, my savior. Are the bad guys still out there? Did you kill them? Where's all the people they took off of this bus? They're like, oh no. But they no, you're saved. It's fine. It's just Jackie Chan. I don't understand why you're still there. Hours later, nobody zip tied him to the bus. Why are you still on the bus? Like,
yeah.
None of you has a cell phone that was stashed somewhere. You could call somebody, whatever. So this is how they find out that they, and this is where they see from a helicopter, John Cena in a dune buggy zooming off somewhere. And so the only place over there in that direction is that village. And so Jackie Chan infiltrates the village and finds Jackie Chan. They have a stare down. And then they're like, why are you following me? Why did you kill my friends? I didn't do it. I'm just fishing in the desert or something. I don't know. And then they back off and leave. And then when the money doesn't show up, John Cena drives off. And then he in his pickup truck, he is named Ethel for some reason because comedy. And Jackie Chan follows him in the dune buggy, and they get to the radio tower, and they have a fight scene. John Cena finds his brother dead and is very upset about this. But there's nothing. There's a Chinese hostage that is dead there. Like, why wouldn't you leave Tomb Raider there with Henry? Then it looks like they killed the Chinese did it. The Chinese wouldn't have left a dead hostage there. Yeah, a dead Chinese hostage? Why would a dead Chinese hostage be there?
It's very weird.
If they had killed, I don't know, it's dumb, so dumb. But anyway, there's a massive fight scene, John Cena and Jackie Chan that happens in there, and then the French show up. The French, we can tell they're French because they all have tiny mustaches and berets and striped shirts. I'm not kidding. Like if you asked
This is when
a
I was
child
like an 11-year-old
watching Looney
me drew
Tunes,
this. Yeah, this was.
if you asked a child watching Looney Tunes to draw you a French person, that is what these people are. They have little scarves. Hello, we are here for the guns. We have paid for the guns. Where are the guns? Give me the guns. And so there's a funny thing with like one of them pulls a pin on a grenade and the other one is still holding it. They got to put the pin back in, and then the French go back out to their truck, which has a big mounted machine gun on it, and they go, "Start the shooting!" And they just shoot at the radio tower for a full minute as John Cena is throwing grenades out of a hole in the wall while bullets fly past him. And they can't be getting very far because he's just doing this. Like they're 100 yards away, 50 yards away with a machine gun, and you're like just doing little pot shot grenades that roll 7 feet. This is very, very odd.
This is the worst.
But then the French
like,
just stop shooting and leave. And then John Cena and Jackie Chan blow up the radio tower for some reason. To hide the bodies or to hide the evidence of the guns that have been there, or
this was very confusing. So,
yes.
Hey, clean up that situation with the French that we got earlier, and then finding out this was the situation.
This is the French. These are the French.
The French known for surrendering in wars. This was even a big one for them because they don't. To your point, I was like, nobody got defeated. No. Like nobody lost. Some of the fight scenes in this are really cool. This is not one of them. This was bad and confusing and superfluous. Like this all felt very, very out of the way. But I guess I can't call it superfluous if the whole movie feels superfluous. Like there's nothing that makes sense in it. But this was like when I saw the French show up, I was like, this is like what little kid Kate would have been like. Okay, I'm 12 years old, and this is how I think French people show up to war. Was an insane pull. And again, like there were so many points in this where I was like, is this intentionally bad? But it's not. Like it's just bad. It's just not good.
So the immediately like Jackie Chan and John Cena form well, I don't know if I can trust you, but you're the only guy I got. So like, although Jackie Chan very much does not have only John Cena only has Jackie Chan.
Yeah, at this point.
But Jackie Chan literally has an entire special forces team that is with him still, that he keeps in contact via radio, but never does anything with. Like, he's hanging out with John Cena at the village, talking to the kids, having dinner, and John Cena does a thing where he's like, "Hey, that chick over there, she's really hot. Boy, I'd like to, have sexual relations with that chick. That's my daughter." Oh, I had no idea. And the thing, like it was just so odd that he would like just, because he doesn't seem like the guy who would do this.
Not at all.
So the only thing I can think of was that he knew he was his daughter and was like trying to get a rise out of him just as a joke. But no, he literally didn't know it was the daughter. Also, in the bloopers at the end, there's an alternate improvised dialogue of John Cena about the girl that was obviously cut by the Chinese censors, which says, "I will eat an ass," is what he says in the blooper. "I will eat an ass," is what John Cena says about Jackie Chan's daughter to Jackie Chan. And I was like, I can't imagine why that was cut.
Jonathan.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
Yep. Anyway.
Not this movie, but well done, John.
Yep. I will eat an ass, is what he says. Over and anyway.
Great line, wrong movie.
Nope. Anyway, they have a kind of a truce, and then because Owen is interrogating the Professor Chang with some hostages near her who are wearing hoods and still thing, and every time, and they're like, you gotta do this, and she won't start the oil refinery because it is so important to her, Dr. Professor Chang, that these terrorists not steal some oil. That she is willing to watch two of her coworkers be shot in the head, execution style. And she will not say anything about what she will do. She's trying to reason with him. And then eventually, they pull off the hood of the third hostage, and maybe you'll care about your son. And this is the first time that we know that she has a son, that he was also working at the plant, any of that shit. And she's like, oh, no. Oh, please don't. And she still won't tell him any of the details of how to start the thing. The son has to do it. There's a dongle. There's a USB dongle. You gotta put it in there. You gotta put it in the code. Like, she was willing to let her son be killed to save the government some oil. That is a very loyal doctor.
It is to the Chinese alarmingly
China.
Alarmingly so, yeah.
And so they're like, okay, where's the dongle? It's in her bag. Where's your bag? I don't know. Don't have it. All right, well, I don't have to shoot him. Like, and he's like, track her phone. Like, the son is so not getting shot today. He will give up everything. And so
kill my mom. Like, I don't care. She was gonna let me die.
If her phone is in the bag, track the phone. And so they call the phone, and May pulls it out of the bag and answers it, and then walks off. So he's like, hey, who keeps calling you? I don't know, just some number keeps hanging up. Anyway, who's for dessert? And they're like, oh, no, that's somebody tracking you. Because John Cena immediately knows they're on their way, and they are. And they brought an entire team. Boy, I bet the rest of those Chinese special forces could have helped out in this thing. But no, they're not there. For some reason, they're just not. So it's Jackie Chan and John Cena doing a stealth mission against, like, against Skullface, Bald Eagle, and a bunch of, let's be honest, a bunch of Chinese guys dressed up as terrorists because you can't see their faces. But that's definitely who it was, probably. And so they have a big fight scenes with them and take them all out. And eventually Knox shoots a rocket launcher at John Cena in a tower. There's some fun stuff about hand signals.
Yes.
What is hand signals? And so one point Jackie Chan does this, and which is supposed to mean 6. Apparently, that's a hand signal in Chinese military. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's what 6 is. But he's like, no, this is hang loose.
Yeah,
let's hang loose, chill, relax, grab a brewski. That's what this is. Like, or I'll call you tonight. That's what this. What this is at 6. So I did think it was funny that, like, American and Chinese hand signals are very different.
Yeah.
And that was fun. There was some little, like, hang loose stuff. Also, behind you is whatever a thing. There was that one behind you was a different, whatever. But anyway, it comes down to, like, a standoff. And all these people, all these orphans are around, and, like, it brings out the phone. It's like, hey, you want this? Want the phone? Here's the phone. And all these villagers come out, and they've all got, like, most of them have pitchforks, but some of them have, like, Soviet era rifles, and they're, like, putting it. There's a standoff, and it's like, I'm just here for the bag, says Knox. Like, the bag? John Cena runs in, puts the phone in the bag, and throws the bag to him. Now go, get out of here. It's like, and May's like, why did you just give it up? Like, It's a bag. I don't care about the oil refinery or like these are my people. My job is to protect them. I was like, honestly, that's the first because no, we're gonna have an exchange. You put down your weapons, and then we're gonna walk the bag over to you, and you're gonna give us something. No, it's just like John Cena was like, no, this is I'm not gonna. Here's the thing you want. Just don't kill anybody. And because they're nice, they don't kill anybody.
They
and they leave.
really just wanted the bag.
They really just wanted the bag. And that was nice.
Cena
and
finally getting a smart babyface moment in his life.
And that's the end of the movie. Because honestly, who gives a damn about the oil? Who could I guess you give a damn about Professor Chang?
Yes. I think we're supposed to. I don't have any investment in it.
But that's the end of the movie. Now they're gonna try and take some of the oil out in tankers. But most of it they're gonna like pump from the refinery in underground pipes to the docks, and put it on tankers. And that's how they're gonna they're gonna like basically run a refinery dry and then sell it all on the black market is what Owen's plan is. So they get the dongle back, they have her enter the code, and the thing is now pumping. But it's okay though, because John Cena and Jackie Chan are gonna go in, just two of them, even though there's an entire special forces team. It's just gonna be it's safer this way. Just John Cena and Jackie Chan, just the two of us, without a large arsenal of weapons. We're gonna go in and we're gonna fight this entire team of what I can only describe as Arab ninjas wielding machetes. We're gonna go in there and fight all of them, just ourselves. That'll be fine. And they do, and it's fun. John Cena picks up a giant pole and is swinging it around and hitting dudes, and then Jackie Chan runs up it and uses it as a pole vault. And there's a bunch of crazy fight scenes, and there's some dialogue about like I forgot to mention John Cena's dad was killed in the firefight 2 years ago when they were ambushed, and that's honestly what Henry was trying to get revenge for, was their dad being killed.
That's right.
And also, did you catch why he was killed?
No, I did not. Why was he killed?
Because John Cena is bad at hand signals. That's the reason the script gave for why John Cena's dad was killed, was that he's bad at hand signals. And then they play up the fact that he's bad at hand signals as comedy for the rest of the film. They honestly say, I was trying to signal that I was going to move, so cover me in this firefight. But I accidentally signaled for him to move, and I would cover him. And then we both moved, and a bunch of people got shot because I'm bad at hand signals. And then they played that up as a joke for the rest of the movie. I tried to signal for him to for me to move, and then by accident for him to move.
Oh my God. I remembered like that it was a mix-up, but I didn't remember like, oh my goodness.
That was what he said. Yeah.
My notes just say, finally, John Cena and Jackie Chan versus way too many people. Because I was waiting for that for the whole movie. I was like, more of this movie needs to be only the two of them versus way too many other people, and they win. Like, that is what the movie is supposed to be. I thought we were going to get that with the French, but the French just gave up. And there were not enough of them. And they had berets. Right. So we finally get into what I want out of any Jackie Chan movie, which is this piece of it. I really felt like this movie should have been anything but what it was. It should have been either a comedy with 6 of these scenes in different ways that are silly, or an honest attempt at a movie that made sense. This was neither of those things. But God, I didn't even catch that about the dad. That's absolutely bonkers.
And yes, Beep Boop, this is one of those movies where one dude,
100%.
Jackie, is all kung fu stuff, and the other guy is all not suplexes and power slams, but a lot of I'm gonna grab you by the leg and swing you forcefully like a baseball bat into a wall. There's a lot of swinging a dude by a leg. A lot of that from John Cena's moveset is 90% grabbing a dude by the leg and swinging him. That's most of what he does.
It's the most logical why wouldn't you do that if it keeps working?
If you're that strong, yeah.
No, I would do it. If I Alex, let's be abundantly clear.
No, it's true.
If I had the ability to just pick up a grown man, and swing them by the legs into a wall, I'd be in prison right now.
Yeah. Honestly, it speaks a lot to Claudio's character that he is not in jail. Because he has that power and uses it only for good, even though he's a bad guy right now. He could kill a man with it. If you could spin a man for that long, certainly you could throw him at a great distance. So
that's a really good point. He could just be throwing people off buildings and stuff.
Yes.
Much less into walls.
Yeah.
It was the fight. I had fun with the fight scenes because
the fight scenes are not the bad part of this movie.
Correct.
The bad part is
the French one, which is bad.
Well, the French one's not even really a fight scene. It's a comedy. If it was like literally like if it, I don't know, like if it was trying to figure out like what comedy do. If it was Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller in like 2004. And like it was a bunch of French guys going hee hee hee, put on the machine gun, and then they're like they're throwing grenades, like pass me another grenade, yoink, and like that was what they were doing. It'd be the same damn movie.
Yeah, that's why it was just like, is this supposed to be parody? But it just was bad.
No. No. Cena bumped in the fights with Jackie. He didn't. Yes. He didn't really bump. Yeah. No. Although later they have a 2-on-1 fight with Knox, Skullface, and it's the baby faces against the heel, and they fight him to a standstill. Honestly, Knox is the champion fighter. Skullface, Skeletor, top. He's a top fighter there because. They eventually get through all the ninjas, and Owen and Bald Eagle get in a dune buggy and they leave along with the tankers full of oil. May has shown up having stolen John Cena's other favorite car, Susie, and another truck, and picks up John, and she's driving, even though she can't drive stick. And at no point does John Cena say, pull over, let me drive, it'll be better. Anyway, so there is a very long chase scene of John Cena and May in the pickup truck chasing after Owen and Bald Eagle, who are trailing this convoy of tankers into the desert. And while that is going on, simultaneously, it is a one-on-one fight between Jackie Chan and Knox. That in the like the cooling towers, I guess, of a oil refinery. I'm not really sure what this is. Weird. Eventually, it boils down. This is a 10-minute fight scene that boils down to both men on bouncy wires. Like, this is actually kind of cool because if you're going to do the whole fight scene on wires anyway, why not have an actual reason for the men to be wearing wires so you don't have to hide the wires later in post? Fine. I don't know what the bouncy wires are for. Like, I don't know why you need bouncy wires in a cooling tower room in an oil refinery. I'm just going to go ahead and trust the experts on this. But also, the room fills up with fire extinguisher foam. Like, fills up.
Yes.
So, like, they're having a bouncy house foam party fight for 10 minutes while John Cena is miles away trailing the real villains of this thing. Jackie Chan is stuck having a fight scene with like the fourth most important bad guy.
It looked fun.
Yeah.
It
did look like
a
fun.
kid's birthday party.
It did look like fun.
This was a very long fight scene, and there were a lot of things in this that I was like, that's why I was so surprised when you were like, he's almost 70. I was like, holy crap.
Yes.
Like, this was really like ridiculous, but thinking in terms of it, like it felt to me like he was doing a lot of this work, and that's just very impressive. And this was also like, I spent so much of the movie wanting this ridiculousness. Like, give me bouncy wire foam Jackie Chan fighty people, but it does feel like John Cena did get the short end of the stick from a plot standpoint.
It is meant to be anti-fire foam, but it sure as hell looks like sexy dance club foam to me.
Yeah.
And no, they're not on an oil platform. They're like in a, I don't know, like, is it tankers? Is that what it is? Like, it's an interior room with big tanks in it. I don't, maybe those tanks are full of oil, and that's why you have anti-fire foam, so that if the fire starts, they can end it. But anti-fire foam like goes and like fills up the entire room. This is like, hey, it's bubbles. It looks like my kid in the bath. Like, that's so it's weird.
It looked playful, not like it was trying to save your life.
No, yes, it was very. At one point, he's literally just blowing bubbles into the guy's face.
Yes.
As he bounces back up and he goes and blows bubbles into his face, and he goes, oh, like that's a good minute of the fight scene. It's just that.
Yeah, it's Muda Mist, basically.
Yes. So the dune buggy goes off road after because that's the other thing is that Owen's so bad at, like, he's ruthless, but he's actually fighting. Like, he ever does any hand to hand, and when he's using the mounted machine gun on the dune buggy, he's shooting backwards directly behind him at a vehicle that cannot maneuver well, and just constantly missing it. And eventually he just runs out of ammo. Like, he's not a former soldier.
Yeah,
he's the COO of a private security firm, maybe, but like, he's a plumber. That's very odd. So anyway, they go off road, and then May tries to follow them in John Cena's favorite car, truck, and goes off a jump, and the whole thing disintegrates when they land, which makes John Cena very angry. But they're able to hike back to the road. By now, obviously, the tankers miles from here, but they're able to meet with Jackie Chan. Oh, the way they got into the refinery, they didn't really sneak into the refinery. Jackie Chan and John Cena. I forgot to mention this earlier. I said I was going to mention it much earlier than this. The way the bad guys were able to fake a sandstorm is that they put a jet engine from a jet onto the back of a flatbed truck and then aimed it at some loose sand. And the truck, I guess, had the parking brake on because it didn't move even with a jet engine propelling it. And the jet just sprayed jet at the sand, which created a 40 square mile sandstorm out of a pile of sand. That is how the bad guys started a sandstorm, a man-made sandstorm, as cover for their extraction of a PhD in oil riggery, so they could steal some oil to pay back the families of friends of a glorified plumber. That is the plot line of this movie. And eventually, thankfully, the jet engine comes back into play. And they use it to propel the big truck it's on through the gate to get in. to go through all the big concrete blocks and stuff that they are protecting the gate. They go through that. They go through the gate on the thing, and then they just shut the jet engine off. But that Jackie Chan uses to escape the oil refinery after he's saved Professor Oil Riggery and her son and beaten Knox in the sexy club foam fight.
Mhm.
Then he drives after, and John Cena and May get on that. And they're like, we'll never catch up to them in this. Yes, we will, says John Cena. And he turns on
It's like a turbo engine.
on the jet engine, which propels the thing so far forward. And they T-bone one of the oil tankers, which then causes it somehow to flip backwards. And land and crush all the other tankers in the convoy and explode right in the face of Bald Eagle and Owen. Bald Eagle is dead. Bald Eagle is burnt to a crisp. Owen is somehow okay. He's half of his face is pretty charred. Looks like a hot dog got left on the grill a little too long, but he's alive and he's able to like pull Bald Eagle out of the thing and drive off in this charred up dune buggy. And so they have to chase him. But John Cena doesn't like to wear his seatbelt, as you see in the trailer. And so he rips it out of the thing. And so he's not wearing his seatbelt. So he's on the side of the jet engine truck, and they can't turn off the jet engine or something. And they all you have to know is that Owen ends up in the dune buggy, smashed against some rocks near a cliff. John Cena has fallen with the jet engine truck all the way to the bottom of this canyon. There's zero chance he's alive. I want you to remember that there's zero chance. Remember how there was zero chance of a sandstorm earlier? There is even less of a chance that John Cena is alive.
There's a negative chance that he's alive.
I
just want to pause right here and say there is not a single issue with anything that you just said.
Right.
It's all no notes. It's perfect.
Yeah. Jackie Chan and May have been are strapped into one seat that has fallen and is being held by a rope that is attached to the dune buggy somehow, dangling off of this cliff. And Jackie Chan is like grabbing onto the seat, and then the seat Owen starts moving the dune buggy like he's just gonna leave because he's fine after all that.
Of course he is.
And Jackie Chan and May, the rope breaks and they fall onto an outcropping on this cliff. Then the rope doesn't break. Oh, Owen starts falling, and they land first because they're halfway down the cliff. And Owen's in the dune buggy keeps falling, but the rope's still attached to the little chair that she's in. And they're trying to undo it, and they realize, oh no, I'm just going to unbuckle the seatbelt. And they roll off, and then the chair gets thrown with them. And then after Owen does a full-on Wile E. Coyote at the bottom of this canyon, they go, Chris! And they're yelling at Chris as though Chris didn't die 5 minutes ago. And Chris! He must be dead. And then John Cena just climbs up on top of the cliff. He's fine. He grabbed onto some rocks. He's fine. He's fine. And he's up there, and they're on the side of the cliff. Okay.
My notes
like, all right,
just say Finn Balor would be so screwed.
Yeah.
Because of the rope. It would have just been such a bad situation. No. But it's not even just that John Cena survives. It's the degree to which he's okay.
Yeah. No broken bones.
Essentially.
He doesn't have a cut on his face.
Unscathed.
Entirely unscathed.
Death.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But that's what at this point in the movie, I wanted and needed John Cena to be 100% fine emerging from this situation.
Yeah. So John Cena they pull John Cena up. It's now Jackie Chan's daughter, who John Cena immediately hits on.
Of course.
And you are an idiot, or bong shui. There's a lot of this stuff is also is John Cena trying to speak Chinese through this whole thing. Like, he learned Chinese well, he was working private security in Shanghai. And so he learned some Chinese, but as Jackie Chan says, you're not using the right inflections. So when you're trying to say private security, you're actually saying funeral parlor.
Right.
And so so he's
I
bad.
get my hand signals mixed up, and I don't know the inflections of that. That would be amazing if that's how his mom died.
She's basically saying to him, honey, can you pass me that glass of iced tea? And he thought she said, can you pass me that king cobra? And then that's how she died.
That's how she died.
Because he doesn't understand the inflections in Chinese. Anyway, so
our movie is better.
Yes, it's much better. Much better. Are you kidding me? Our movies are always much better. And then he calls him an idiot in Chinese. And then he's like, well, if I'm an idiot, you're so smart, how are we going to get out of here? It's okay. I have a plan, says Jackie Chan. And then they just start screaming for help. They are halfway down a cliff in the middle of the Iraq desert with no way to track them. And nobody knows they're there. And roll credits. And so they're going to die. They're going to die of thirst on the side of a cliff within the next 4 hours, because it's the Iraq desert and it's 190 degrees there. And then instead, we get, during the credits, we get a couple of scenes that show that they're okay. And Jackie Chan is helping John Cena to unclog the well, because like everybody in town was like grabbing a rope and pulling something out of the well, and then the well like explodes with water, which is not how I think wells work. But then Jackie Chan and John Cena pull themselves out of the well and like, hey, thanks for helping me get water to all my people. And then Chinese Special Forces guy runs up and says, Dragon Luo, sir, there's a mission that we need to go on. And he looks up at John Cena. You want to come with? And John Cena's like, hey, why not? And so like, sequel.
I doubt that.
Listen,
I sincerely doubt
if this
that.
movie makes a lot of money in China, they're definitely going to do a sequel. It doesn't matter how bad the critical reviews are, and they're bad. It doesn't matter if they can do some. So I'm sure they can do some metrics and find out that yes, it was the most watched movie on Netflix for about 5 minutes, and then everyone stopped watching it.
Like if they could just unclog the well, is the whole movie unnecessary?
No, entirely necessary. None of it should have happened.
Also, did John Cena just pocket that $100,000? Was the $100,000 used for this? It feels like the ending kind of just got like snuck in there. And I was like, wait a minute, that's the whole reason John Cena did this mission. And the fact that they would be like, yeah, let's sign up for another one of these when his brother died feels like a little bit of an oversight. And you might want to take a minute to grieve at the very least and reevaluate.
Yeah. The other thing is that we see the Chinese Special Forces do a raid on the oil tankers that are waiting for all the oil to come out of the pipes, because there's a very Australian, I guess, mercenary tanker who's like, right, we're in place waiting for the oil, and Owen's like, okay, it's coming to you. And so they're just sitting there. I don't know how many miles away is the Persian Gulf from this oil refinery, But once the oil is turned on, it is flowing into those tankers immediately.
Yeah.
But they do say it will take 24 hours to fill the tankers, and they're not filling it for 24 hours before the good guys come and stop it. So there's just a bunch of Australian tankers who are sitting there waiting for oil, assuming everything's fine, and didn't actually just leave.
As cartoonishly Australian as the French were, by like it felt like it was Crocodile Dundee. But yeah, this happened.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes. If you can find a YouTube video that has the fight scenes, watch that. Otherwise, get the flick out of here. No, John Cena's trying so hard. But it's
my thing with it too is there's so many better movies that both of these guys have done. Like if you're picking an hour and a half of your time, go watch anything else that these guys have done, especially Jackie Chan. Yeah. Like there's way more fun stuff in his catalog. And we don't get enough of their like buddy relationship to make you feel excited and invested in it. If they had just done more of that, I could have forgiven a lot of the bad in this, because I expect the framework not to be all that great based on what we were getting, but there's not enough of their relationship that you can kind of like sink your teeth into in my opinion. So I say get the flick out of here. But I do hope that somebody takes a chance on this duo in a more sincere effort. Like I would like a box office smash of a comedic John Cena and Jackie Chan film. So
yeah. I mean, yeah.
But also Jackie Chan's 69 years old, so
that's what I was thinking. I was like, I don't know how many more of these he can muster.
Dude,
but yeah, I mean, he's approaching like Ric Flair age. And that guy had his last match ever.
That is true, and boy did he. But I feel like that's why I feel like if you did something silly, you could probably make it really fun, right? Of just like with special effects and make the fight scenes really, really manageable. But this was disappointingly bad because it wasn't as fun bad as I thought it was going to be. It just felt really long and disjointed. Like I can sign up for fun bad with John Cena and Jackie Chan. This was like, this felt like a chore. This was a chore to watch.
There's nothing to me that honestly that hits the same as like a really fun schlocky action movie. Some of my very favorite movies of all time are that, just as an experience to watch. This wasn't fun.
No,
there was some schlock to it, and like there were parts of it that were fun. But
the fight, there were some really fun fight scenes. Like
they were trying to make the whole like the life or death situation of rescuing the oil refinery, not the workers. Honestly, they were secondary. The oil refinery was what we were rescuing.
Yeah,
and it felt
it missed.
Yeah, no,
it missed. Get the flick out of here.
Get the flick out of here. Don't know what we're gonna do next week, but we're not gonna do one of these.
Such an ambi flipper.
I don't know. I was conned into this.
This was your idea.
It was my idea, but I was conned into it by Michael Cole. He told me this movie was the best thing on Netflix, and I feel like if you can't trust Michael Cole, who can you trust?
That's a fair point.
Get the flick out of here.
Get the flick.
See you next week, everybody. Have a good weekend.